Hello, I want to say a few things about the Vinaya today. So these are the 227 precepts given by the Buddha to the Sangha, and they're still expected to be conformed to today by the Therevada monastic community. So many of these rules are very specific and particular to the Buddha's time, and a lot of them relate to the 5 precepts that everybody's supposed to keep. So the 5 precepts, first one is don't kill, second one don't steal, third one no sexual misconduct, fourth one no lies, fifth one don't take drugs or alcohol, intoxicants. So the Vinaya is often a development of these. Some of them, as I say, are really very specific to the Buddha's time, and anyone can read the 227 precepts known as the Vinaya because they're freely available. One that springs to mind that's very specific to the Buddha's time is don't give food to wandering ascetics with wrong view, or to wandering naked ascetics with wrong view. In the Buddha's time there were lots of these ascetics, wandering naked ascetics, who painted the bodies, so on and so forth, and they really tortured the body and thought that body and soul were two extremes that could not unite together, and so by torturing the body they would eventually free the soul from its prison. So this was anathema to the Buddhist point of view, so one can see where that comes from. But however, it's also true to say that probably one doesn't find too many wandering naked ascetics these days, so that's an easy one to keep. There are some others which may have relevance in the modern age, but are very specific to the Buddha's time, like don't watch armies march off into battle. This is typical of a time when small groups of soldiers would be going off all the time to fight this or that war. In the modern age, when the organizations and the groups of people are so big, it's much more difficult probably to watch armies march off into battle, although it's still possible. The majority of the Vinaya talks about food, women, and robes, I would think. So there is a lot about food, about the way people eat, the way the monastic community eats, when it eats, how it eats, how it can receive its food, the attitudes and behavior around eating. So, for example, one of the rules is the monk should always keep his eyes on his bowl while going on the alms round. One can imagine that if a monk is looking around, it might seem like he is hungry and looking to catch the eye of someone who will give him food. So that makes sense. And there are a lot of small rules about the way monks can eat. So they would kind of be similar to rules of good etiquette that might be taught independent of Buddhism. For example, don't burp, don't scrape the bottom of your bowl, don't speak with your mouth full, don't fill the cheeks of your mouth with food. It boils down to not really seeming greedy. Another one is don't hide your curry with rice in the hope of getting another one. So that would also be a part of the deceit. That would be deceit. So that sort of goes off into a different area to some extent. But all these rules, they have a function and a meaning and a purpose. So the whole purpose of minimizing the time and energy spent on food is to spend more time meditating and not concentrate on the delicious tastes of food so much. So get the food, any food, from the people, creating a bond between monastics and community, and laymen in the community, and eat it, and be grateful. Don't obsess about it, don't try to get more, don't think about it more than necessary, don't be scraping the bowl. That's a sign that you're obsessed with the food and you want more. So the idea is just minimize the importance of food, eat it for energy, and then the rest of the time you just spend on Dharma pursuits, particularly meditation. There is a lot about women as well, so again it's important that the monk doesn't encourage the arising of sensual desire, and quite obviously perhaps the most potent desire of all is for sex, or for sensual desire in that field, in that area. So as with food, has to minimize the possibilities of craving and clinging here. So don't be touched by a woman. Don't sleep in the same building as a woman. Even don't teach a woman. There's at least not more than several words of Dhamma, and she's got to ask for it first. I think that's not true with the men. Don't be alone with a woman. A monk needs a chaperone. Don't allow business with a woman to develop into anything else. So again, the rules are really to cut down on sources of desire, craving, and clinging. It's interesting that in the numerical discourses, the Buddha at one point talks about a holy person and how they can be consumed by sex in spite of seeming to be holy. There are different. I think there are six. It's a book of the sixes, I think. So there are 6 different ways that somebody can really be obsessed with sex. and still seem to be a holy person. So, or be a holy person, but actually be obsessed with sex. So one of them is obviously directly keeping a mistress. Others are flirting and being pleased at the sound of female voices and the memory of female voices, being anointed with oils and massaged by females. The final one is interesting. It's to think that by ascetic practices and by abstaining from sex, now the monastic believes that he will be born in the heavenly realms as a deva in the future, and so will be able to enjoy every sensual and sexual pleasure then. So that's the most subtle and probably the worst of these aspects. The Vinaya then is in many ways a very practical body of rules which is intended to allow monastics to live together in harmony and peace and to get on with their business of meditation and the pursuit of nibbana. And the rules don't mean that there's any kind of torturing of the body, as some ascetics did in the time of the Buddha. But on the other hand, one isn't encouraged to indulge either. So the whole idea is to keep outside activity to a minimum, so that the monastic activities can take precedence. As I said before, one of the areas where there are a lot of rules is about robes and the kind of robes that can be worn and how they should be prepared and when they should be given and things like this. So all these rules very, very practical and often growing out of the basic 5 precepts that are for everybody. I hope that this was useful.